Favorite podcast?
Guys, come here.
Let's go! Favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast? The Guys Covered Podcast.
Getting knocked down does not mean that you just stay on your back. Necessary to associate with winners.
Work instills the worth. You're not always going to be in a good mood. Early mornings, the mindset, the working out, religious working out every day, you and I, every day.
You're talking about some deep shit, boy.
Episode number 5 of the Geist Gunnered podcast. And today, before we get into the podcast, I wanted to just touch base and preface with you what our intention is here and who we're talking to today. Today, we're talking to someone who has been in the self-development space. He does coaching, particularly for people who've been through substance abuse. And today we touch on a lot of different topics related to self-development, how to become the best version of ourselves with fitness, mindset, food. We touch on how that can impact us, what we eat and why we eat it, troubling times going through prison and how he came out of that. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you find truth in the things that we say and you utilize it to grow at the best of your ability. Enjoy the episode. All right, we're live, man.
Live, let's kill it, brother.
Welcome
to
the podcast. This is episode number 5 of the Geist Gunnered podcast. And who are you, brother?
My name is Patrick. I'm with Regen Fit. I'm a creator of my own brand, 777 Regen. And it's all about bouncing back in life from, negative situations, vices, alcohol, harsh situations, prison, carrying yourself in that way where you're not on a spiritual path to carrying yourself on a spiritual path, putting a positive spin on life, it's just the only way to live. I think people get trapped at a young age into kind of a fantasy way of living with alcohol and drugs and get caught up in it. And then sometimes it's puts people on that path of destruction, right? So I basically looked at that and I made a choice. When you dwell on putting yourself into action and making that decision of just doing it, just go and do it. Don't play that mindset. Don't play that mindset of so these glasses.
He's trying to get the cool glasses
these
to work.
Glasses.
We got
I keep getting some chick's voice on here.
So we got the Ray-Ban Meta glasses here. They record 4K videos and photos, and so we were like, we'll get some cool shots while we're doing it.
I keep getting this chick's voice on my thing.
The next generation.
I'm like, who's talking to me? Hello?
Stop distracting me, bitch. Yeah.
4th generation.
So
like, what?
when you use yours when I'm talking, and then I'll use mine for moments when you're talking as well too.
Okay.
And then also,
but what's that chick's voice coming up on mine, dude? What's
she saying?
I don't know, 4th generation something.
Ignore it.
Anyways, these things are picking up some stuff out there.
And then also keep as close to the mics as possible.
Okay, just so we're getting
and or just talk about.
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah.
Also,
our other mic kind of went on the fritz. So hot out. So
you also brought me.
Oh yeah.
Shirt.
Yeah. There you go.
He said this is the first shirt he's ever given anyone for free, which I'm so honored and grateful to have because it's awesome. And one of the things, a part of your branding. So to summarize what you said, you help coach people, life coaching, and or more specific.
Listen to that, bro. Check that out. Just put those on.
Double glasses.
Let me tell you the tale of 2 continents, one in the Atlantic called Atlantis,
The source of what planet?
another in
What
the
planet is that,
Pacific
bro?
Hypermeria.
I know how I'm playing.
listening to this.
MU for
I was
short.
listening to. Oh my god.
25,000
You
years
just have to
ago,
tap the
these
side
two
when it plays.
Keeps
continents
coming on though,
were
bro.
battling each other.
See, I just
Yeah.
tapped the side
Oh,
and it stopped. So I just got back from Mount Shasta, which
Okay.
is in the States. It's
Yeah.
this spiritual hub. And that's where I did my third podcast, my
Okay.
second to most recent one to now.
Yeah.
And I did it with this spiritual leader down there. He does events for over 250 people every year. What's like a handful of other people who you'd be like, if you wanted to research this, if you wanted to take this as like in the summer for that area? And one of the things that he sourced me to go watch and he talked about in the podcast was that there is an audio track or an audio series of someone who supposedly lived in Inner Earth. And she describes the village or the town that was under or that has an entrance from Mount Shasta.
Oh, okay.
And so
Okay.
a ton of people around the world know Mount Shasta is this notorious spiritual community. And so what you were just listening to is this lady who supposedly lived in Inner Earth and was describing Inner Earth in this like super creepy funny.
And I was just talking about spirituality. I was just talking about spiritual. That came up on my ear.
That's
I'm
funny.
like, so I was trying to
I love
shut it off,
I
but
love it. She wanted to make her way into this podcast as well. People
Oh,
need
okay.
apparently.
Yeah.
No, but getting back to what we were talking about here and with your branding. So
Yeah.
summarizing what you do, you help with life coaching, particularly people who go through addictions. Would that be somewhere closer?
I touch on that. I touch on fitness. People that want to, lose weight, get into a better mindset. It's really important to, not so much almost kind of a spiritual guide. I don't like to get too much into a life coach, but more of a spiritual guide into, just guiding people in the right direction because ultimately it's up to you. It's up to you to make that choice, to make that decision if you want to change. Right. A lot of people will say, hey, yeah, I'm pumped. I want to do this. And then they fall off, they slip off and you can't really, you can lead by example and show people. And I think by, got people, men and women that have truly suffered and have been through really horrible life experiences, trauma, and, past, things that have happened to them that have made them spiritually grow and realize that they don't want to be there. But I mean, when you have a person that just comes in and they actually haven't experienced that, they can't relate. They can't relate to that true change. And it's because they haven't experienced, that true suffering, that true pain. And, when you go through that I've experienced horrendous suffering and pain. And I got to the point where it's like, I don't want to feel like that anymore. I don't want to, be blanketed with, that want to mask all my feelings and mask everything and turn out to be, somebody that you're basically soulless, right? You're soulless. You lose your soul. You lose your way of, you lose that spiritual universal guide that puts you in the right direction, right? Like I wouldn't be sitting with you here. There's no way.
Absolutely.
I would not be here. I would not be talking about this and, sharing a bit of my story and, putting it out there where, you don't have to live like that and you can change it like that. It's literally a split-second decision where you go, I want to change that, boom, and you go do it. But a lot of like I say again, oh, I could do that, or maybe I should try, or it's just always kind of you're debating yourself. And I always say it's up to you to make that decision to grow and to change. And you have to have discipline. You have to have discipline and you have to stick to what you decide and stick with it. You have to stick with it and you have to believe. See, that's another thing. People are expecting for people to push you up when really You have to push yourself up. You have to grow yourself. People are, there's a lot of naysayers and haters and a lot of different opinions. You gotta that's just noise. You have to focus on you, remove your ego, and lead by example.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm no peach. I'm not perfect. Like nobody's perfect. But I think, if you remove, I used to smoke heavy amounts of weed, drink tons of drugs, and I just removed it all. I
Wow.
removed it all. Zero. I don't smoke. I don't drink. And it just, it changes you, and it gives you that heart back. Gives you your heart and that feeling of goodness, right? That's what I look for. I always tell my guys that I work with, people that I work with, that, I keep it really simple. Just be good. Just be a decent human being. Be good and carry yourself, in a fashion where you have manners. You have manners. You're healthy. You're not engaging in really, hateful and negative activity. And, just be good and put that out. And, for the immediate people around you, love. That's number one for me now. I've met just a phenomenal woman. She's great. She's into fitness, right? She's into fitness, and, she's just a huge supporter of me, and I support her. And she's got a little boy that's 5, and he does burpees and stuff with her. And
Start him young.
so yeah. So he's a good little guy, and, that's what it's all about, right? I, put everything aside and decided to, love him, and that's it, right? And
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. And for the rest of the people that, want to change, I'm there to, support them, and to, you know, put my, past and tell them the stories. This is the thing too. People say, okay, I'm going to go do this and, be a life coach, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Well, what are you? Ask yourself about your life experiences first, right? Like, be true to yourself and say, hey, should I be doing this? What have I experienced? Don't go out there and, say something that is
Right.
false.
Maybe reframing what the role is.
Yeah.
Maybe less of like a life coach. It's kind of like I've mastered life.
Yeah.
What's up, bitch? That's kind of like the vibe you get from like the life coach
Yeah.
title, but more of like, that's probably why a lot of people go towards like motivational speaker. There's like different things that are kind of related to it.
Exactly.
I definitely feel that a lot. Like in my business, I have a business in the financial industry. And so we're helping people with fundamental things, with investments, insurance, financial planning and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then subliminally, it's a lot of motivational speaking or the life coaching or whatever it is, right?
That's it.
I love being able to provide that role.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving a bit of the backstory as far as where you come from. And we'll definitely touch on more of many of those things you talked about. You talked about family. You
Yeah.
talked about your troubling experiences or, crazy stuff that have happened in your upbringing, including
Yeah.
prison. Lots of different things along those lines that will help a lot of people in understanding the perspective. One thing that I am very fascinated by and love
Yeah.
is numerology. And
Okay.
I noticed that you say 777.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
curious, what does that number
It's
represent to you?
Basically spiritual belief, and guidance and blessings, and, it's basically the spiritual path is what it is, right? And, you go into, Greek mythology, and, if you look into it, numerology is huge. So I touch on it. And I think it's just kind of a cool way people can look it up. And, if you have, some numbers, people, what does that mean? And they can look it up and go, oh, that's cool. Right on. It means, and basically again, goodness, kindness, carry yourself spiritually, and do good things. We got to go back though a little bit into, how the human is too, with anger and frustration. We got to touch on, natural feelings of, aggression. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to be, this walking, perfection of, so what I got to say, it's practice, and the work instills the worth. Okay. So you're working on yourself constantly. You're not always going to be in a good mood. You're not always going to be, you know, the example that you want to be. You have to catch it though. You have to be aware of your actions. If you're not aware of your actions, where's that going to take you? Well, it's going to subtract. It's going to subtract. So be aware. I actually was in a meeting the other day and I slammed my truck door. Something aggravated me and I slammed my truck door. But right after I did it, I heard the door slam and I was like, bang. I knew I had, you know, I kind of drifted.
I love that. I call those net negatives and
Net negatives.
and net positives.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think about everything. I say those all the time. Everyone around me always hears me say that.
Yeah.
Because like, if you do something that's a net positive, where like, no matter what happens, you doing that particular action was a good thing.
Yeah.
And there was no possible way that it could redact something from your life.
Exactly.
Like, for instance, if I'm like walking through a door and there just happens to be someone like just for enough away behind me that like I could maybe not open the door, or you're just going in and everyone else was closing the door. I just open the door. You know what I mean? Like, it's a net positive to do that because you're going to give them a feeling of appreciation and like cared for.
Yeah.
And you just made a connection perhaps with that person.
Oh.
And it didn't spend any more of your time. It's a great example of a net positive type of thing, right?
And it's polite.
Yeah. And it just adds to society, right? Like
the
whole treat others how you'd want to be treated. Like,
exactly.
It's a net positive in every way. Same thing with the opposite side of that, right? Like,
yes.
How many people in their lives, if you could calculate how many times you've slammed a door in your life, right? Like, I don't know how many times that would be for a particular person, but almost all the time it's a net negative. When you think about like, how can you transmute the energy in the environment that you're in right now to result in the most happiest version of yourself and the best version of yourself and those around you? Most of the time, it isn't those escalating actions that release a little bit of tension. You know what I mean? You could do that same emotional release by having boxed or having worked out or having gone on a run earlier that day so that you would have been transmuted, that energy wouldn't have came out in that I need to get it out right now sort of a way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And being aware of it and changing it, flipping the switch. That's the magic. That's the work. When you right away, you know, cause everybody knows they get into a loop of negativity, and then they dwell and they repeat on that negative thought and it starts to fester. And to be able to be aware of that and change your mindset and be like, man, that's the wrong way of thinking. That's just bringing me down. That's subtracting from me instead of adding to my growth.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah. You were talking about your rough past and different things that you've gone through to become who you are. And just last night, scrolling on my phone, and I found this one lady who's like one of the top motivational speakers in the world. Badass bitch. I forget what her name is, but she was talking about this thing she does, which is called scripting. Have you ever heard of scripting before?
No, actually, not a whole bunch, but go ahead.
The whole concept is that you script what's going to happen as if it's already happened. So you're like writing a script for a future version of yourself and tricking your brain into thinking.
So you're actually putting down your manifest.
So you're journaling as if something's happened and all those emotions and stuff. Okay. And I was like, I journal every day. I have over 3.5, probably at this point, million words in my digital journal over the past 4 or 5 years. Okay. So that's like a half hour a day or so.
Yeah.
And I'm really into that, but I never done too much about like the future projecting type of writing. And I have all of my goals in the upstairs of my house where I look at on a big poster board. It's all my main goals that I read off. And then I also have my logo. And so what I did was they were right in front of me. And so I just wrote a few paragraphs per about all the things that I'm stoked to have been able to do because of those goals.
Yeah.
And I just did it for like 45 minutes, which is like quite a long time. But I was just like in this future reality version of my life. And it was a really cool experience. I don't know if you've ever done things related to that.
Well, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now. That's the beautiful thing about it is you build and you see, and then you take your momentum to that place. So you're actually you're talking about being in the moment right now where you built your business. Okay. And now we're actually here doing exactly what you pictured.
Totally. Even this podcast. This
what I mean.
podcast
That's
was a
what I'm
part of
saying.
visualization.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
Yeah.
So we bring ourselves to this positive atmosphere, and that's the work. That's the work. That's what I love about it. It's like, okay, I'm driving up here, and I was a little bit behind today with construction stuff. And I'm just like, no, this is how it's supposed to be. I'll get there. I've already made contact with
Oh,
guys.
dude, it was definitely how it was supposed to be because I was not ready. So I was like, perfect.
So it's not, I mean, so it worked out perfect actually.
Yeah.
And I was thinking on my way up, I'm like, oh, you know what? It's just meant to be. I'm going to do something positive and good. So when I get there, I get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it worked out. It's worked out really good, right? So,
yeah, dude.
And that's what I mean by manifesting. I manifested what I wanted to do. I got into personal development. I'll touch on some meetings. I was in personal development meetings. I hit 1 year. I did 365 days at 3 a.m. and never missed.
With group calls with your team?
Every day, yeah, every day meeting, mindset, and I never missed for 365 days.
At 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m.
So your whole, how many people were doing that call with you?
There was a group of about 5 of us. 5 of us would meet all around the world. Brandon Angel Fitness, Fire Within Fitness, AK, Daddy Dug Deeper, and we all met in the mornings, and over a year I never missed. I went through surgeries.
In the hospital bed.
Yes, in the hospital bed. I'm in a meeting, but I wanted to prove to myself and kind of build a reputation where it's like, hey man, like the guy shows up, but that's for you. Once you do that for a while and you keep showing up and you keep showing up, you start believing in you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You are building up your own character.
Absolutely.
Right? And then that's leading by example. And then other guys, the guy will be there.
Do you have an example of a time or most drastic moment where either your logo and this symbolism, or maybe it's one of the other tattoos that you have as well too, have pulled you through a really hard time? Because I could insert a photo as well too, but he has the 777 on his chest as well too.
I do.
You can even show him if you want. If you're down to show him, your tattoos look sick. You'll be a beast.
Yeah, so that's my tattoo.
Take your shirt off, dude. Take your shirt off.
Yeah,
I'll take my shirt down. I don't have tattoos. I got no.
But
no, but you have to show him. It's sick. So he has the 777, and it says, I'd imagine, which is part of the meaning you associate.
Divine blessings, and I got the cross and the bird of peace up here, and I just believe in goodness is what it is, right? So I did that. And actually, it's funny you say that about, is there ever a time? I was talking to a friend of mine one day, and I called him up, and he wasn't gonna, for some reason, like, oh, I'm really busy. I don't know if I can take his call. And he goes, dude, I looked over at my emails and I had 777. I said, what? And he saved it ever since. And he always minuses and subtracts to keep it at 777.
I love that.
But that's what I mean. Little things like that. Because
it brings your mind to meaning. It brings your mind to meaning. 777 is the amplification of the number 7, which is associated with God or spirituality, the unknown, taboo things, right? Yes. And then 777 is the master number, which connects that to even more amplified things.
And then yesterday, you texted me 1111 on the flasher.
1111 has always been mine. Like throughout my life,
yeah.
If there was any synchronicity that I've seen the most amount of times,
yeah, I
see 1111. I like at least once a day. Obviously, that's also my brain being like, okay, it's probably that time. Maybe I'll check. I don't know, but I almost always see it. That has been my main one, and I always take a moment at 11:11. You know, it's funny too because I was in public and there was someone beside me who I didn't know, but I was just kind of lightly talking to.
Yeah.
And it was 11:11, and I told them, I was like, it's 11:11. Make a wish, and it was just like. It was a lady, and she was like kind of pessimistic about it. She was like, "Oh, okay, all right," and I was like, "No, this isn't fucking woo woo, bro."
Yeah.
you use this number, you use this time that it is 11:11 to amplify your thought energy,
spiritual thoughts,
to amplify your energy in the direction you want your life to go. You make like a prayer, you visualize, and that's what I use 11:11 for. Almost every day I see it.
True manifesting.
Yeah, and it's just an opportunity to tap into your highest timeline of reality, and that's the furthest thing from something that isn't tangible. And it's the same thing for all the other angel numbers. Like different people connect to different synchronistic numbers or whatever, and different people see the different ones.
Yeah.
And the whole thing there is some people feel like, since I see that number all the time, the meaning associated with it could be something that I need to grow or that I could utilize or something to that regard. Whether you want to prescribe to that being a part of the fundamental nature of the universe, which maybe it is, you can still use it as an opportunity to just be like, okay, tap in.
Yeah.
Tap in.
Well,
tap in.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? It's not like you're doing something more important than honing your intention to the highest degree you can at that moment. So like, that's why I love 11:11.
Well, why? Okay, well, let's put it this way. Why wouldn't you ever use something to your advantage?
It's just like finding the patterns in the universe and then being like, how can I use this? How can I use this to better my life? How can I use this to better everyone else's life? You know, it also, when you meditate or when you like do a prayer, things like that, even especially before eating, there's a bunch of biochemical things that change in your body. Like, I'm not sure exactly which ones it is, but I could only imagine that'd be related to the heart rate, different things like that make so many other things in your day go even better. So,
okay, well, how about, I'm going to put something out there. You in the gym, when I'm working out, I go to one knee and I say a prayer. Okay.
mm-hmm.
And it makes me feel good. When you feel good, you project goodness. You know what I mean? You want to, and we'll get into fitness a little bit here, because fitness changed my life. Fitness creates energy. Okay. And it creates a space for you to go to work on yourself internally. Right. And I think it's really important for people to know to get up off your ass. Get up off your ass if you want to make a change. This is very common. You ask somebody, do you want to make a change? You want to make a change? And people say, yes, I do, but but I don't have the time, or I should, or this and that. But I just watched something. A guy was over 300 pounds. He was massive. And he just got up off the couch. He made that choice to change, and the guy's shredded. He's shredded. I don't know how long the time is, a year later, whatever the time span is.
Yeah.
But he decided to make that choice. I decided to make a choice, and, you know, I'm fairly cut. I'm not massive or nothing like that, but I'm in good shape. I feel good, and I'm spiritually I'm working on myself spiritually, which makes me feel good. And the work is the lifestyle. The lifestyle is the work. Like today, this is work, but it's also our lifestyle. Like, we're not here really. Are we here working, or are we here living our lifestyle?
Yeah.
It's both.
Dude, it's so funny. I just got back from a road trip to the States for a week and a half. Me and the guy I was driving with, we did a podcast. It's my last podcast together. It was Cedric Michaud. And he and I are like both philosopher types of people. And we're just constantly talking the whole time. And I'm like, dude, if we don't stop and record something at a sick ass place deliberately, I'm going to lose my mind. Because we're talking about so much good stuff.
Yeah.
Because it genuinely is who we are. You know, that's why I have a podcast, because I genuinely want to understand the truth of reality. I genuinely want to help everybody understand how to become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And combine those two, you know? And that's just who I am. And so capitalizing on that is what gives someone the slight edge in any type of thing. Same thing with you and the people you help, right?
You just said one of my favorite words, being genuine. Okay. Being genuine is what you are searching for. That's what you want to be. You want to be genuine. You want to be sincere. And for me, you want to be loyal. You want to be loyal, and you want to carry kindness. And at the same time, you carry for an alpha male that aggression. If someone of your loved ones is affected by something, you're there to protect them at all costs, right? That's a true alpha male and a true, I'll use the word man, but I like to just say that to have that killer instinct, but also have that kindness in you, but have that, that lion instinct that's in you to protect what you love. There's so many downfalls and so many experiences that I had that were horrific. I mean, I had been on drugs and been up for days and not even realize where I was. I remember one time I woke up in cells, in city cells, and I asked the guard, I said, "What city am I in?" I didn't even know what city I was in. I was a very lost, hurting individual. Really became, I guess, a loser type, just a soulless individual. Just soulless. You're really just a shell. You're a shell, and and people don't realize, that you're rudderless. You're rudderless. You're not even aware. You're lost. I look back now and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? What is that? Like, I honestly am absolutely like, there's anger. There's frustration. Man, I'd kill that dude. You know what I mean? Like, straight up, I want to just strangle you. You parasitical drug addict, right? Like, that's your true thoughts, your true feelings. But that's good to look at yourself and say, hey.
Are you saying that's you to
That's
your
me.
past self, or your past self to other people?
No, myself.
Okay.
Myself now.
Right.
To me, to back then. And
That's
it's
meta.
like, man. So it's pretty hardcore, right? But you get stories from guys, and that's what they say too. That's what they say. It's you're so lost that you just don't know where you are. But that's the gift. I have lots of Wes Watson. He kind of snapped me out of a rut too. He's very controversial, but he's got a lot of good things to say. And I look at the good. I don't go out and say, oh, this and that about somebody. I take the good out of his discipline. Okay, Watson has tremendous discipline, and that's what I go on. Goggins, Dana White, all these guys that have made massive changes, man. Massive changes.
Wes Watson in particular, so he's been to prison. He went through that, and a lot of his story was he was successful before he went to prison, but then he got there, obviously a very bad situation.
From negative action.
And then, do you know what's brought him into prison originally?
Yeah, it was drug dealing, assault, I think.
So in that mind state, got into prison. Most people don't understand really what that life or what that can kind of do to a person. And after that, he was able to build a really big business and a huge self-development community after that.
Massive.
And so relating to you, how has Wes and him having gone through, the same experience with prison been?
Because he tells the hard,
you?
well, one thing with Wes Watson is he tells the hard truth. And people hate him for it, right? And it's, people don't want to hear what he has to say, but at the end of the day, if you look at it and you sit down, it's the truth, right? And the guy did 10 years in a California state prison or wherever he was. People saying all these stories, whatever. Hey, the guy got out of prison with $150 and he's a multimillionaire now and created something for himself from, doing, interviews at picnic tables. Just like kind of how we're doing something right now.
Really? He started with interviews when he got out of prison?
He started just doing motivational speeches and, bringing people up, telling them the hard truth, and just started just working every day religiously, and just kept at it. But again, I'll say, I take the good out of people. I don't even get into the stories and the noise of the negative because, first of all, get the facts before you start spitting stuff out of the side of your neck and saying something about somebody you likely don't even know, right? Which is instant judgment. Okay. you're gunning somebody off and you're thinking, that's you, motherfucker. That is you making that stuff up about that person. And you don't even know them. You don't even know their name. You know, so, you know, it's really important to, look at yourself and, be true to you, and don't judge somebody and gun somebody off or start talking when you actually truly don't even know them. That's pretty greasy. I don't get into comments on social media unless I have something positive to say.
Totally.
I don't do it. I don't even engage. Why? If I don't have something good to say, why would I say it? It doesn't help anything. All it does is create, I don't know, more chaos.
And so this
more
is the
noise.
interesting part, right? So this is the conversation and what you were touching on. If for people who don't know Wes Watson, big motivational speaker, whatever else you want to call him related to that.
Yeah.
And his style
Oh,
is blunt honesty with a lot of intensity. A
Yeah.
lot of intensity, a lot of honesty, a lot of in your face
grit.
grit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he's jacked, so that just makes it even more of like an in-your-face type of thing. And so what you were saying is, why would I say something if it's not going to make a net positive? If I'm not bettering someone or something from saying it?
Yeah.
And this is the interesting talk when we talk about leadership,
Yeah.
as we're both developing leaders, right? And everybody is, but we've been on this path, and there's different styles of leadership, you know?
Well, I'll touch on something after, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's different styles of leadership. I'm reading a book right now, and it's talking about how one way that you can lead is by helping people understand where they're at without confronting them. And a lot of the old school way of leading has traditionally been more of a, hey, come on, do this thing or else, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like leading a voluntary army. There's leading people with the goal of giving them fulfillment in life, being able to give them fulfillment in purpose, you know, a good social community, a good life experience.
Yeah.
Something that comes to mind for certain people, obviously not all of them, but there's definitely certain people in Elon Musk's company, for example, maybe it's Tesla or maybe it's SpaceX, who are like, he's given them such an awesome mission statement, a
Yeah.
part of the company,
Yeah.
that they're like, dude, we're going to Mars.
Yeah.
Like, they get to say that. And just because they get to be a part of that, they're super excited. And then for the people who are more hardcore, by at least the sounds of it, they're super stoked to be able to have an opportunity to really contribute and have purpose as well, too.
Yeah.
And so the similar thing with leadership, like in our business, in my business, it's very much based upon a voluntary army because we're growing entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so with that, you aren't just telling people you're an idiot, don't do that, like do it this way or else.
I'll tell you this. I got a call from Wes Watson. I got a call on my truck phone. I was so random. It was so random, and he just greased me out. Greased me out for about, I don't know, wasn't very long, 30 seconds, 25 seconds. But
just felt like an infinity. I was just there.
I couldn't get a word. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I'm like, I relate to you, Wes.
Thank you.
And anyways, he's don't be so selfish. Go and tell your story. Get on Instagram. Get on YouTube. Go do your shit. Fuck you, motherfucker. Click. And I'm like, oh fuck. And then
That's so funny.
After this ignorance came out of me. This ignorance came out of me, and I was aware of it about a half an hour later. I thought, what a fucking asshole or whatever. Then I thought, hey man, that guy just took some time out of his day to call you to tell you what the fuck you're fucking up on and to change things. Right?
And so that's the dichotomy right there, is his style and some people's style, which is and can be effective.
Open your ears and listen to people that have made it. Right? Open your ears. Like, I'm going to go into Goggins now. People literally comment on Goggins about him running so far, and he's going to get hurt and injured and all this crazy stuff. And he got injured. His knees were swollen up with whatever. People were happy about this. And I'm reading and I'm going, is this the type of world we live in? That a guy's out working so hard. He's run 300 miles in one go, okay, without sleep. Okay.
Yeah.
And people are he gets injured. And I told you, man. I told you he was going to do this. And I'm like, whoa. How about, is the guy okay? Is he going to be able to run again? This is what we're up against. This is the mindset of some people. I told you would fail. What is that? We want to be stacking W's and telling you, right on, dude.
Absolutely.
Get more, do more.
Mentally, physically, and spiritually. Like, something that comes to mind when you say that, two things. One, I said a similar thing. Like, I don't have a big social following yet, but I have some friends around me who are like, oh, it's cool what you're doing, and I'd love to do more of that.
Okay.
And then we talk about how, like, I said the exact same thing, essentially, as what Wes said, in a different tone, but I was like, in my perspective, the way I view reality is, if I'm doing something just for myself without recording it and whatnot, then that's fine. I'm indulging in an experience. But when I'm creating something that's self-development oriented, which is most of the stuff I'm constantly doing anyway, then I'm actually contributing. I'm giving back. And in that contrast, you're being selfish by indulging in that contrast, you know, like and and I was explaining why I'm so obsessed about really wanting to get good content throughout that trip, because it's just so important to me that I don't indulge and that I give back as much as I'm possibly capable, and that I build my skill set to be able to articulate myself like this, for instance. You know, if I hadn't done anything for 2 years, right?
How about simply just getting on camera for some people?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And just breaking through that barrier, that just simple barrier. And again, and I want to touch on this. Wes Watson says, it took me 14 years to become an overnight success. Right? Do you think you're just going to waltz in? And it does happen that people go viral. It happens. But I think when somebody says, it took me a decade to become an overnight success. Wow. Doesn't that tell you the motherfucker worked his ass off to get to where he is?
Reminds me of Andrew Tate a lot too. Like, his whole story before getting blown up into the most successful person was he was just making YouTube videos, just wherever, talking about important stuff and all of those types of things. And he had other businesses. But yeah, the other thing that I was going to connect when you were talking about how he was really going at it in that perspective, and how I connected because I was saying the same sort of thing, get on social media, is there's so much to gain from just growing yourself as a person in those areas, in physically, with David Goggins, for instance, you know, pushing yourself to the max physically is crazy. Like, it takes so much out of you. And you're like pushing the human species forward in the sense of really seeing what a human is capable of doing. So, like, for some people, maybe their perspective when they were hating, essentially, right, is like, well, are you just doing that for an egotistical reason? You just want to be better than everyone or something? Or like, why are you doing that when you could, whatever? So maybe that's their viewpoint. But when you're doing something that's pushing you to the max, understanding what we're capable of, how things actually are, you know what comes to my mind? Truth of reality. Going to see Robert, one of my most recent podcasts, or many other things that I've studied, is pushing the envelope on what is true. I don't want any bullshit. I'm not going to take any bullshit, but I want to understand from people who feel like they have an understanding of how to push themselves to 300 miles. What the mindset was to get them to run 300 miles. If someone purports...
Well, what it is, and I'll just touch on it quickly, and you keep going. Goggins always asks himself repeatedly if he can take one more step. That's his motto. Can I take one more step? And if the human being, you ask yourself that, can I take one more step? What's the answer?
Yes. I can do one more.
Right?
One more. I always do it in fives when I'm doing reps. When I'm doing reps, one is like, all right, you can do one. Come on. But like the flow state where it's like just kind of hard enough is like, well, come on, you can do 5.
That's the 1% attitude though, okay? People don't realize you're doing it for you. You're not even really doing it for anybody else. You're actually, like, when I train, I'm there for me. I'm there to, I'm there to lead by example, of course, but I'm there to build myself up into, the person I want to be. Right? So, people, why? It's not, It's for me, man. What do you mean? Go
Mhm.
go do your own thing.
And that's why it's so important, and you should take it as a discipline to do things that build you up, to do things that you're passionate about. Because most of society could benefit. Everyone can benefit, but particularly like job wise or extra income wise or whatever it is, like doing things that you're passionate about builds you as an individual, builds you as a person, and that's what enables you to add value to society in that particular way. Like if we're all like cells of the earth, right? Like if we think about our body and this is like earth, and then we're a cell in there, and we have a particular frequency or vibration or characteristics antenna that can connect and resonate with certain information, ergo, with all the spiritual jargon. We're just able to benefit humanity in a one way or particular ways because we're passionate about those things. When you get more skilled in your passions, then you're really able to add value. Like all the little things that I've done, even just to set up this podcast, is an example of me doing that. Or like aesthetics in regards to fitness and health and all those types of things.
Yeah.
That's just an example of me and things that I've recognized.
Well,
and that applies to every different type of person. Even if you like drawing, like instead of going out and not like hanging out with people you don't even like that much.
Yeah.
If you were to spend the night drawing as like a 16-year-old kid in their bedroom, you spend the night drawing, you're building your skill set to something that's going to inspire a ton of people, or even just people who are really close to you.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what. And so you're just stacking individuality, characteristics, things that are going to get you to that person who doesn't say, I want the pro football player.
Yeah. Well, and I'll touch actually you right at the end you said pro football player. And this is it. There's the professional athlete, okay, the professional athlete that practiced and worked every single day, every day to get to where they want to be. Okay. So you have the professional athlete, and then you have the fans that just watch. What do you want to be? Do you want to be on the field, or do you want to be in the stands?
Totally, dude. And I think that the thing with that is not everybody wants to do football.
No, that's fine.
And those football people, the people who are pro athletes, are fucking beasts. Don't get me wrong. They deserve the best. They deserve amongst the top pool because they worked for that. They're among the people who I'm talking about right now who did that and took action. But maybe for you, it's drawing, like I just said, for no reason, or something else. Maybe it's podcasting, or maybe it's whatever, you know, whatever area of life you feel like for whatever reason you're most passionate about. You need to develop those areas, because otherwise people are just going to revert to whatever they see as, you know, superficially being the best, or that happens to be, you know, available like that.
And it comes down to this. People go and watch a professional boxing fight. Okay. And, the fight's won in the shadows. The fight's
yeah, dude. I have a mindset motivation.
The fight's won in the work.
Do the work in the dark room.
Right. Yeah. But people go to watch the fight, and they go for this instant gratification of the fight. But the fighter has trained for years, early in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, up training, hitting the bag, running, up early, hitting the bag, running. The fight is not won in the ring. It's won in the fucking gym and on the streets, running and training and coaching and training and coaching and training and coaching. And that's when I watch a fight and I go, look at the skill set. Where was this built from? And that's what people have to realize. They have to look and go, wow, the work that went into the fight, the work that went into this, the early mornings, the mindset, the working out, religious working out every day, you and I, every day. You can sit back and go, hey, I feel good about myself. It's not about impressing anybody else. It's about feeling good about you.
Yeah.
And that's what the professional athlete, you can ask any of, I feel good about me. I did it. I did it. Right? Yeah. They're not daydreaming.
So many successful people talk about how once they conquered one area of their life, whether that was something related to fitness or that was business or whatever, they were able to take that same formula that they used for success in one area of their life and build it into the others, you know? And for an athlete who's just been working out, you know, you've just been doing it for quite a while,
Yeah.
it becomes natural after a while to work out. It becomes in fact, you get irritated and agitated if you don't do it, right? But for a lot of people who get into working out, for instance, they are like, it's so hard. And it is at the start when you have a lot of, you know, fat, you have a lot of muscle or things that you can't engage, muscles you can't engage. It's genuinely harder to engage those muscles and build muscle and get into the habit of doing it because you can't look at your aesthetics. It's harder to connect to the motivation that is there for most people who are maintaining something.
Yes.
Right?
Maintaining, yeah.
But what has it been like for you in regards to, you mentioned fitness has been a big one for you. What is like your actual routine with that? And how do you feel like that's helped you? And how do you feel like that has correlated to you going from the mindset you had before and during you were in prison to after that? Do you feel like there was a fitness regimen that you had been a part of and or some other fundamental self-development things that took you from when you were in there to this next stage of who you are?
Oh, how can I start on this? I guess what it come down to is like when I was younger, I played a lot of hockey, like higher level hockey, was an athlete, but I was lost as a kid because my dad was a heavy drinker and he was kind of living through me. I wasn't really doing it for me. I was doing it for him. I was, you know, he was a abusive guy, yelling, screaming, that type of thing. And, you know, when you're living in fear and you're doing something for someone else, you're doing it to appease, or you're doing it, to keep yourself safe, or to keep, to keep yourself from being not harped on or not yelled at. You're doing it to keep yourself in a position where you're not dealing with the repercussions and anger and that. You want to just get through it. And then, you know, as this whole lifestyle change and making this, you know, this decision to be a good person, you know, I hit fitness because I love to train. I've always loved to lift weights. And you know, I see these guys doing it. Okay, a lot of guys that are doing it, and I said, oh, and I love, that's what I mean by guys that are heavy motivational speakers and influencers. They tell you that you can do it. They say you can do this just the same. I'm a person just like you. You can go do this. And that's what I love about influencing people and saying, hey, like right now, I'm a survivor of, like I was crawling onto city buses on my hands and knees going to hospitals. Like, you know what I mean?
And I'm
like
a survivor of peanut butter.
hardcore streets and just really horrendous style of living, right? And when you make that change, and you get into fitness, and you start the biggest thing is starting to love yourself. You know, and that's the biggest thing for me. You love yourself, and then you're able to give that out.
A lot of people get tripped up on that because they think that when you love yourself, or when you focus on yourself, when you focus on your fitness, you focus on, you know, making sure that you eat the healthiest foods and you get the higher quality things, when you focus on your sleep, when you focus on these other activities that you need to be home for, like reading or whatever it is, right? Studying extra things that you're actually passionate about, giving yourself time, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
People tend to be like, well, you know, I don't like, you know, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's fine. I don't need to.
What's the point?
What's the point? You know, like, why do I need to like, I don't need to, like, you know, even like showering and things that are immediately applicable to other people as far as self-care goes, like, even that is contributing to your ability to project positive emotions and feel good. Like, if you think that self-care and having extra time is selfish, just think about all of the things that you're doing that are more selfish than otherwise, more low vibration than otherwise.
Let's put it this way. Do you really want to be a fucking tubby, a white tubby and out of shape with, horrendous, endurance, issues that you can't walk down the street. You can't make, you know what I mean? You're breathing heavy. You're eating shitty food. You ask a person who's going to sit down and ask yourself. Every person that I've ever asked says, no, I would rather be in shape, eating
It's a
well,
net positive.
and feeling good about myself instead of saying, well, hey, I could do that one day if I really wanted to. And you end up sitting there watching fucking Netflix, drinking Coca-Cola and eating Cheetos. And the next day you feel just fucking shittier and shittier.
Cheetos are literally designed. They're literally the peak of engineering. They melt in your mouth. It's food.
You only want more.
It's food that melts in your mouth.
Is it food?
I don't know. And it's designed to make you want more of it. And
we're going to do a podcast on food, by the way. We've talked about this, McDonald's and all the shit people eat. And it's fucking horrendous.
Literally choose for you. I mean, I'm not to say that, like, on our road trip, I ate some McDonald's, but I needed to do it for calorie sake to a certain extent. Yeah. But then also, I always do this thing where I order the healthiest thing on the menu. Yeah. And there was a couple, well, one in particular, but a millionaire and people who I just appreciate and look up to as a leader in my circle, who were like, they joked that was the biggest takeaway from the trip was, I loved how you always chose the healthiest thing on the menu. I never really done it like that before, and I've started doing that. And that meant a lot to me. And I love that no matter where you go, obviously there's the choice involved of like being able to find a place that's healthy.
I love the choice.
Yeah, being able to find the place that's the healthiest. Often that's just not going out because you can save money and pay the extra money, or maybe not save money, but you just pay the extra money for healthy food. Yeah. First of all, but if you have to go out, you have to do a trip or whatever it would be, you have to be going out with your friends because you haven't, you need to do it one way or the other.
For me, I'm gonna break it down like this. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Break it down. Do you want to feel good?
Yeah. Yeah. And the healthiest thing.
Ask yourself this, motherfucker. Do you want to feel good? And I ask myself.
Exactly. So like, I'm looking for the thing on the menu that makes me feel the best, right? And long term, that's the healthiest thing on the menu.
No, I want to feel like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When you really break it down, it's obvious, but most people just don't look into it, analyze what they're doing and break it down.
Sugar, alcohol, everything that's kind of been placed in our path. You got to realize that you have to remove that. It's not good for you, right? And once you change your diet, I've noticed now changing my diet, eating really good food, high proteins and greens and that, the human body will crave it. You want to taste that organic food, that really clean meat, grass-fed nutrients that give you the proper energy.
What do you eat? Like, what is your typical thing that you eat?
I eat 5 eggs a day. I get up, I have 5 eggs every single day. It's good protein. It's very clean, grass-fed organic eggs. Tons of really good steak, chicken. Last night I had 3 chicken breasts and broccoli, beans, veggies on the side. But that's it. That's, eat good food. And take that time out to treat yourself well, And once you start doing that, once you start treating yourself in a manner where you respect yourself, you will just progress. I was unaware. I was lost. I was rudderless. I like using the word rudderless because it's so true. You have no direction. And I used to be the fuck off guy. Oh, what the fuck do you talk? Smoke a joint, have a beer, chill out. I'm just sitting there. What are you doing when you're drinking and smoking weed? You're just sitting there. Yeah. You're not doing anything. You're cracking another beer and going into fantasy land. Really, it's the truth. You go into the state of, yeah, I could do that. You're sitting back and you're thinking you're the shit or whatever, right?
It's so true, dude. Like, what?
The ego comes out and you're like, give me another beer, man. You're like,
not to offend anyone. And like, I get that it's relaxing and stuff.
Oh, if you got your shit together and you're in order and you're having a few beers with the boys or whatever, and you got your shit tight, hey, I have nothing to say.
Mm.
But if you're sitting there and you're struggling and you're going home and you're fighting with your wife and you're struggling with your bills or it gets even worse, you're at the bank machine and it's not giving you any money, or you're sitting there and you're getting money together to go, get booze or whatever you're doing, and sit down and really look at yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And there's most people, like the majority of Canadians, I mean, working in the industry I do, helping people with finances, the majority of people need help financially. They're really doing the best
Big
they
time.
can. They
Big
need to
time.
be doing the best they can to get out of the average amount of debt, which, as far as I'm aware, is somewhere around 25,000 or higher.
Wow.
Or the interest rate on credit cards and whatnot. The average, as far as I'm aware, is 21% or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And so people often are on some sort of a budget to some degree, the average person, and they're still, for many people, a part of our culture, utilizing, I shouldn't say that word. That's too positive a connotation.
Yeah, it is.
It's just doing nothing. It's just
You're right.
drinking a substance.
You are subtracting
a net negative.
You are subtracting from your true authentic self.
And that's coming from two people who've been there as well too. Like, I used to throw like the parties for the people in my area, and all of my friends, we do it here. I was very addicted to drinking booze. I couldn't even hang out with my girlfriend unless I was drunk to some extent.
Yeah.
Same thing with vaping. I had the box mod, and I built my own RDAs, and I was very into it.
Wow.
I had tons of vape juice, and I'd like sell them and whatnot. I was very into that space. I was really good at tricks. I loved the art of tricking.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, I was addicted to those substances.
Yeah.
This was before that other period with food, but those substances and just being around other people, I needed to have all of that. And I just wasn't comfortable being by myself. And also I just really wanted to be a net positive for the most amount of people, which at that time in that social scenario in the high school era was being the most popular person, or being the most, the person who could add the most value, was in the wrong lanes. It was in the wrong context. You're not actually adding value just by drinking, or just by like having fun, or facilitating an environment to do that. Because you're all just consuming a bunch of net negatives to stay on that term. So like, even if you're contributing to that environment of fundamentally misguided young adolescents kind of thing, you're still not in the right lane. You're not in an optimal lane. It's like you should have looked at the second mountain before you climbed the first one, because that's actually the right one. So then you have to climb back down.
Yeah. You're not on, I got into personal development, and they kept talking about the path, and Joe Rogan talks about the spiritual path. So does Dana White. And I'm like, what are you talking about, spirit? And I was really negative about it. Right. And then I remember when I got up one morning, I'd been training every day for months on end. And I got up and I actually was like, whoa, I feel really good. And I was out for a walk, and something kind of hit me where you're in the right direction, and I knew where I was. I looked around and I had a spiritual awakening, like a spiritual moment where, wow, okay, this is where I am. And where was I? I looked back and I was like, where was I? I didn't even, and I was like, holy. And then I said, who was I?
Yeah, dude. I remember the
I
exact
actually
moment.
said, who was I? And I'm like, holy shit, dude, you weren't even you.
I literally remember a point just after the thing I just said where I quit those addictions, when I was able to quit vaping, quit drinking, and quit. I mean, I broke up with my girlfriend, who I knew wouldn't be projecting long term. It's not going to grow into anything. I knew there's fundamental issues. Same thing with, that couple is like, if there's fundamental issues, resolve that. And stopped hanging out with my friends when those were the only things we were doing, was those things. And right after that, and I had a whole couple years of just I called it my monk phase, where I was just completely involved in working out, studying audiobooks and podcasts, and just exploring reality, trying to build a foundation of who and how I was going to become what I needed to become, and my highest timeline of reality, my holistically developed self. And I remember a point where I was like, oh, I used to be an NPC. I was like, I don't think I am at least as much anymore, but like I was like not there then. Like I remember a specific point where I had this epiphany that I was like, wow, I wasn't logged on yet.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't logged in. I was just doing things. I was just living out of fear.
Yes. Yes. Living out of fear. And when you get to that point of knowing where you're at, the past year and a half of my life, recently, I have met people all around the world, Panama, Austria, the woman I met's from Trinidad. Okay. All into fitness, all into mindset and training. I got a guy, in Boston, Toronto, that have made these changes, and it's unbelievable, that we go into a place and it's all, positive talk and wanting to be good. And hey, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good people out there that have their stuff together. They're good people. They've been raised by really good parents. Okay. And have been put into to school and haven't experienced, a lot of horrific things because they were brought up in a really good atmosphere.
Mm.
And that's what we have to work on.
Mm.
That's what we have to work on. For me now, I got a little boy, right? Adopting a little boy, hopefully if it all works out right, you got to be, ready for whatever and live in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But to lead by example for him, right? And I've got that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, he gets to do what he wants to do.
Totally.
He gets to make his own choices and support him in whatever direction he wants to go. Not, you're going to go do this or you're going to go do that. No, that's not what we do. That's not what we do. You want to find their interests and pick them up and make them feel good, say good job, and really believe in them, and be really, lead by example in a good way, right?
Absolutely. That's what I love so much about the business that I'm a part of is fundamentally we're able to take people on to help build them into entrepreneurs, help build them into successful business people.
Mm.
And with that comes self-development.
Yes.
It's like the school that's actually formed to help you become the best version of yourself.
Well, actually, that's funny you say that. A friend of mine, he said, why isn't there in schools,
Yeah.
okay?
Places for
In
education.
Well, yeah, places for education.
Supposedly.
Why isn't there personal development for kids? Why isn't there a positive personal development program, leading kids in a good direction? It's so important. And where we're leading our kids nowadays, wow, it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And we have to take a hard look at it.
What do you think is one of the more important things that come to mind when you say that?
Not feeding improper information and letting kids figure out things on their own, and not projecting, confusing them and saying, oh, who are you and what, no, you let them figure that out on their own. And it's been a nightmare, right? And we all see it. We all talk about it. Everybody does. And it's horrific, right? We got to take a hard look at, I see kids in the gym and it's way different than the old days. They're just walking around on their cell phone. They're lost. They're lost, and not all of them, but a lot of them are lost because they got all this information in I call it the evil babysitter on their phone. They're looking up all this crazy stuff when they're, 10 years old.
Mm.
And it's going into their subconscious mind. And there's a lot of poisonous information.
I definitely feel like that was a big thing for me growing up was I was always curious about these fundamental things, like what happens when we die, or what are dreams, or, whatever it is, all of these types of things. And I felt like those things were never taught in addition to all these self-development things. And so when I set out after high school, I've done most of my education self-taught, right? Like I've taught myself all of these self-developmental things. And then had mentors for the business and some of the self-development things, especially these foundational, like, taboo topics I've done a lot of self-work or self-education on. And I don't feel like the educational system is necessarily an educational system that's, teaching people on what needs to be taught based on purely ethical or purely moral principles.
Yeah.
I think it's also a lot of what do they figure society needs. And so let's educate them in the context of that. And often because of that, and that being done at such a high level, there's a lot of really great people involved in the educational process. Of course, teachers are people who fundamentally thought at that point of choosing a career, I want to help people. I want to help the next generation. It's not almost always, in my perspective, isn't their fault. It's just the institution of who controls what's being taught. And the only reason I say that is it's so important to help give your kids the resources to be able to self-teach as well too. And so with having the phone where you're just, lost in a universe, some people are lost in the universe. I mean, I think that I may be an example of someone who's come out of that universe in somewhat of a constructive way, maybe above average way as far as utilizing the energy, utilizing all of this information that I was able to have the opportunity, right, to dig up from all the trenches of the different areas of reality, condense it into the best stuff, right? Condense it into what's most important, what I can take in and help other people understand, what I feel like there may be the most merit to help the whole world with. I feel like if you don't have that, if, Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whoever, I don't know, whoever you look up to that's done a lot of stuff, didn't have books, didn't have information, it'd be very hard. And so imagine if you have all of the internet available to you, you can do so much good as well too, right? It's just about how you utilize it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I'll just say, just even being here and just sitting here talking, actually the mics and the cameras as of this moment kind of disappeared for me. I'm just actually here, talking. I'm not really even concerned about being filmed or, being heard. I feel good spiritually sitting here talking about good things. I hit these points of clarity and high frequency energy where, my immediate surroundings, I'm thinking about my fiance or whatever, thinking about, little things and things that drift in and out of your mind. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is a really good talk. Practicing and working about, and talking about really good things. And that just makes you feel good. So it's just like we're just sitting here on the grass talking about having a talk. It's not even so much about the podcast, right?
Totally.
Which is so cool.
Totally. Deep conversations are my favorite pastime. Like my version of sitting down and having a beer. So I get it from your perspective. I used to vape. I used to drink all the time. My new perspective or my new thing with that is I'm going to go do something that pushes my life or someone else's life forward. And have a conversation about things that really matter. While doing that, like utilizing every opportunity to talk about the thing that you're passionate about. And you won't know what that is unless you spend some time figuring it out, spend some time sitting on it, spend some time doing some shit.
Do it. Just go do it. And it's funny that Nike's slogan is that. It's been that for years. People don't seem to listen.
Good branding. It's good branding. They wear the shoes.
But that's the cool thing about personal development. And I was thinking, sitting here, we haven't cracked a beer. We're not sitting here drinking. It's hot out.
I'm drinking electrolytes.
We got our water. We got our water.
Yeah.
And it's funny that hasn't even crossed my mind. It's a shoulder. That's the baby step, by the way, is vices and substance. That's the baby step. After that, it's personal development. Right? Get rid of vices, make a choice. I stop that. I don't do that. Done. I don't do that.
And replacing it is usually the thing that helps most people. With most addictions, if you replace it with something, such as, for instance, supplements. I have so many supplements, bro. Okay, I get it.
Well, you work in a supplement store.
Yeah, I do manage a supplement store. But I get it. They're, pricey, but they taste phenomenal. And the
Now,
more,
yeah, never do.
and the more that you experiment with these types of things, the more that you're going to find a flavor, or you're going to find a sensation that you get from one of the supplements where you're like, hell yeah, I love that. Like I don't know if I'd say addicted, but I use supplements often,
Like
right?
my buddy would say, 1,000%.
1000%, bro. 1000% supplements all the way. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I love that. Like even like for people who are addicted to nicotine, for example,
Oof,
that's a big one. But
horrendous.
there's things that can stimulate you like that in pre-workout. There's a
I love-
supplement. There's an ingredient called beta alanine.
Yeah, I know.
It helps reduce lactic acid buildup in your muscles.
Yeah.
It also helps with how much you can push. But the main thing that it's known for is it's the tingle one. It's the tingle one, right?
Yeah.
It buzzes you out. Your face gets all cracked, whatever. But it's not bad for you,
No,
right? And same thing with niacin.
Yeah.
Same thing with niacin, the B vitamin or B complexes. Like I just had this BioSteel one and it had some B vitamins in it and there's a little bit of that. But you can literally take something like the BioSteel where it has all the electrolytes, amino acids, and B vitamins, and then you're just recovering yourself. It's going to make it easier to work out. You're going to be less achy, so you're going to want to do it and you'll just have more endurance. And it tastes super good, right? So like if you know that you drink too much or that you smoke or vape and you know that you want to stop, but you're having struggles.
You know it's bad. You know that it's bad for you. And everybody I talk to, I should quit smoking.
You know what? I was actually doing these things on a video chat site in 2023, and I got somewhere around 15 people to smash their vapes or break their vapes and quit
vaping.
Quit vaping. Obviously, not all of them did, but I followed up with 2. I think I followed up with like 4, and 2 of them actually were able to quit, which is so cool.
Yeah.
But I say that in the extent of part of what was exciting to them as well too was like I taught them a little bit about some of these things, or we just talked. We just talked about how they felt, and almost always they said, "I want to quit. I've tried to quit, but I'm not sure like how." And
Discipline.
Yeah, and I think social accountability and replacing it with something is the most 2 important other factors that are detrimental to if you are able to do it.
And I'll put this down, okay? Go and look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're truly the person you admire. That's what I had to do. And I look in the mirror every day. Am I truly the man or person that I admire? And I say, I got a lot to work on, man.
I love that.
I got a lot to work on. And, that's the beautiful thing. Like I get to right now, he just talked about a pre-workout. We had an awesome conversation, recorded or not recorded. You know what I mean? And hopefully it helps one person.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helps one person. But I get to hop in my vehicle, reflect on this podcast, driving home, having a pre-workout, and then go train.
Yeah, I could even give you some cool new ones.
Yeah. Do you have one right now? Maybe
we did a workout too.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a drone that can follow us around. I've done runs around my neighborhood with this drone following me, and there's these old people who are looking at me.
I was wondering if you're going to have it hovering around on our podcast.
I was literally debating it. It's upstairs, but it's loud, so I was like,
Yeah.
We don't need another variable.
That's cool. Do you have anything you could put in my water by chance?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a great place to wrap it up.
Right on, buddy. Right on, man. Awesome. Good to be here, and thanks for the invite. And,
absolutely, man.
Yeah, buddy, for sure.
Woo!
Yeah, right
Let's
on.
Go.
Yeah, buddy. Killer.
How was that, man?
That was, dude.